Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another episode of the Fantasy Football Breakdown, where one of your co-hosts absolutely kicked the other co-host ass in fantasy football last week. I am the co-host that did the winning, scoring 194 points, and I'm Wayne Cavani, and we're back to talk more fantasy football with you this week. The guy on the opposite end of the spectrum, who did have a good week, mind you, was the one and only Mike Dutton. Welcome back, Dutton.
Dude, the only reason you didn't score 200 is because Josh Allen sat the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, I wanted it so bad. Just one touchdown, especially because at the beginning of the week, Taco said, call me if you get to 200.
Yeah.
I had my phone ready. It was sitting there the whole night. And joining us from New York is the Daddy Mac Fantasy Stack, back on the attack, FanDuel Fee. Fee, how are you?
I've been better. I had a horrible fantasy week last week. I didn't take my own advice, and I've said it multiple times on this show that I really need to start doing that. I don't know that it's going to help in season-long leagues, but where I probably need all sorts of help. But, you know, we're going to work it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out. I was kind of impressed with the English I just spit.
You pulled it off, man. It was impressive for sure.
Yeah, it just came right to my head, and then you guys,
I liked it.
You didn't appreciate it.
You can never do it again, but it was great.
I don't even know what I said. I felt like I could have got a standing ovation out of you guys or something. Anyway, before, well, you know what? Nothing before. Let's just jump right into the buy it or bullshit. That wasn't special effects, folks. We don't have that kind of budget here. That was just my voice. So we're going to go on to buy it or BS. Fee won last week. If you remember, it was birthday week for Fee. So you won last week. So that means we're 1-1 on the season. Dutton won the first week. Fee won the second. So let's kick off week 3, getting random points that make no sense. With the first question of buy it or BS, is Josh McDaniels, let's be serious here, a NFL head coach? We know that he can conduct quite the offense, but is he an NFL head coach? Fee, start with you, Fee.
The answer is no. He had trouble the first time trying to be an NFL head coach, and it's not working out this time. I don't see him changing it or turning around anything. He's got a good team to play with, and they still can't figure it out. I just don't think he's got what it takes to be an NFL head coach. And hopefully he doesn't screw up their season the entire rest of the way here.
Dutton.
It's BS. He's not an NFL coach. It's BS. It's like, that's the question, right? Is he an NFL coach? I'm not buying that he is. It's BS that he is, because Fee said it. He's been there before. He can't do it. When he was an offensive coordinator under Belichick, he had Brady, the GOAT, for most of that. I mean, he is screwing up one of the greatest wide receivers of our generation, right? Like, I don't understand it. Like, this whole idea of this week I'm targeting these 2 receivers, and then this week I'm like, you have Devontae Adams. There's only one person to target on the team. Like, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the answer. Like,
yeah, I couldn't imagine if he was still the offensive coordinator and this in New England, and this offense was with Belichick and him. I couldn't imagine what we saw happen. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals are not a good football team.
Not at all.
The way that they allowed that game to just completely unravel. I know it's week 2. It's probably an overreaction, but I'm going to agree with both of you. 2 points each. 2 points each. Moving on to question number 2. The Tua we saw on Sunday is the Tua that we will see this season. Dutton, you go first, Dutton.
It's so hard to say BS, but I'm going to, just because he's not going to throw 6 touchdowns every week, right? He's not. So that's the Tua we'll see all season? No. Is he going to throw 2 interceptions a game? That's a possibility. If he could get his interceptions down to 1, or obviously 0, but no, we don't see it. There's going to be ups and downs with Tua. And this was a really big high, but coming this week, we'll talk about it later, I think, expect a really big low. So no, that's BS. We will not see that all season.
Hey.
Yeah, it's BS. Listen, Tua sure had a ridiculous fourth quarter, but there were definitely plays where he had a couple interceptions that should have been picked and they were dropped. The Ravens, oh, by the way, and I don't know why I didn't know this before the game, but all 4 of their secondary starters were out with injuries. And I don't know what they were doing the first 3 quarters, but they should have been torching them the entire game. So just the fact that it took them the first 3 quarters to figure it out and put it all together in the fourth quarter is a miracle, I guess. But there's no chance that what we saw on Sunday this past weekend is the two we're going to see all season.
We're going to give you each 1 point because I think it is to an extent. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Tua is going to throw for 6 touchdowns and 430 yards every week. I know he's not going to do that, but I do think, yes, he's going to throw some picks. But I do think he's a 3 touchdown, 300-yard guy more often than not to go along with the 2 picks. I don't think it's going to be a weekly basis. And I'll tell you what I think the big difference is. And you guys know this because I've spoken how I feel about Chase Edmonds. The difference, I think, this week was Ryan Mostert. I think he makes he presents a running game. Chase Edmonds, if there is not a hole that an airplane can land in, the guy cannot run. He's not a running back. And we saw this week when Ryan Mostert touched the ball, they had a legitimate as it's going to be running game. He looked okay as the running back. And yes, did Chase Edmonds have a couple big runs? But yeah, that was that big hole. The guy doesn't know how to make a cut. He should be a slot receiver. That's my opinion on Chase Edmonds. The guy should stop lining up in the backfield. But that's neither here nor there. When Mostert is now the starting running back, we saw the difference in Tua. And that's what I think takes him to the next level. Plus, no offense to either of you, but I've seen you play football, and you could both throw for 300 yards if Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are your that's the bottom line. And I think he does it this week against the Bills because I think it's going to be a shootout. And I know the Bills defense is on another level than the Ravens, but I still think those 2 receivers are good enough. The game's going to be like 45-28, right? And he's going to throw like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, mostly in the fourth quarter, like you said he did this week. So 1 point each for you. Question number 3, the Cinderella story is over. Welcome back, Bungles. Are the Bengals done? Not done, but are we looking at another run to the Super Bowl? Fee?
No, I'm buying it that they're done. They're not going to get to the Super Bowl. That is for damn sure. They will have strong games on offense, especially with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. They have weapons over there, but I don't know that they're going to win a whole lot of games. And sure, they'll have great stats for fantasy, so at least that's probably good if you have those guys on your fantasy team. But I don't know that the Bengals are going to be any kind of contender this year.
Dutton.
It's BS that they're the Bungles again. They still have a good shot to win that division. The Ravens are their biggest competition, and we saw what the Ravens collapsed in the fourth quarter. Yeah, there were injuries. He said it. They have weapons on offense. And like to your original question, were the Bengals ever supposed to make it to the Super Bowl? It's Bills or bust this year, right? Like, I mean, so I don't think the Bengals were supposed to make it to the Super Bowl. I think the Bengals were supposed to make it to the playoffs, which I think they will.
Nah.
I think they will. I really do. It's 2 games. They should have beat the Steelers. It was they had a snapper that couldn't snap the ball, or that game's over and they win and nobody's talking about it, right? They're 1-1. The Cowboys, that was a trap game for anybody going in there because everyone's like, oh, the Cowboys are done. The Cowboys are done. So no, the Bengals are still going to possibly contend and win that division. They'll get it right.
2 points for Fee. 2 points for Fee. I want you both to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close them. I'm looking. Here's what I'm going to describe to you. I'm going to describe to you a quarterback that for most of the season throws for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of interceptions, though, too. He's always on the run, so you never know how good he really is, right? But then he gets red hot. He gets red hot at the right time, and they go and they do things in the playoffs you don't even think they were going to do. And they get all the way to the Super Bowl on this hot streak. And then the very next year, almost immediately, they get absolutely humiliated by the Cowboys. Open your eyes. Was I talking about Eli Manning or Joe Burrow? Okay, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the 2007 and the 2012 Giants that the next year we didn't even know they were the same team that beat the Patriots the year before. Okay, I think Fee is right. I don't think that this is. I think they have too much. There's too much bad stuff going on. But I do agree with Fee, and the reason I'm giving him the points is that I do still think they have enough fantasy power to be productive to you. But that's a big loss to the Steelers, even if it is early in the year, because when it comes down to the end of the season and we're looking at tiebreakers, the Steelers already have a big leg up. So I do think that it's the Cinderella story is over. We're moving on to fantasy football breakdown favorite here. The Lions offense is legit, and my preseason prediction of 10 wins is now a real possibility. Dutton.
I don't think 10 wins happens. I think the Lions are in every game they play this year, but I still think they're young enough, other than their quarterback is not that young, but it's a young culture there. They're a solid 8-win team that, yes, if they could pull off those extra 2 wins, they make the wild card and you get your 10-win season. But I still think they only win 8 this year. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Lions are the official team of the fantasy football breakdown.
There's 100% they are. Fee.
I'm buying it.
80 points to Fee.
Woo! I'm buying it. Here's why. The Lions, not just their offense, but their entire team looks halfway decent. And their offense really is pretty good. They have the Bears and the Packers, who are not the Packers of old by any means. And yeah, the Vikings, sure. I think last week for the Vikings against the Eagles was an aberration for them. And I think the Vikings are still a really good team, but the Lions are going to play them tough. And who knows, maybe they can take, 1-1 against the Vikings. But they got the Bears, they got the Packers. I haven't looked at the rest of their schedule. But I really do think that they could be a 10-win team this year. I don't know if 10 wins makes the playoffs as a wild card in the NFC. So I'm not sure that they make the playoffs, but I think they can be a 10-win team for sure.
Yeah, that offense looks good. And it's like you said, Minnesota may beat them both times, but those games are going to be 35-32. The Lions are going to always hang in there. Yep. I'm sticking with it. Why not roll with it? They looked great this weekend. And the last question, go Blue Hen Nation. Is it officially Joe Flacco's season with over 600 yards passing in 2 games? Dutton.
So I'll start with the answer, and then I'll tell you what my official buyer BS is. It's officially Joe Flacco's season is BS because at any minute Joe Flacco's getting hurt. Like, let's be honest. Like, the track record's there. He's a 38, 39-year-old, right? Immobile quarterback. He was never very mobile. And now, don't get me wrong. If you're a Jets fan, you are all in on Joe Flacco. As Blue Hen Nation, we are all in on Joe Flacco. Larry Rosen has to be beside himself that the Jets have Joe Flacco, right?
And he's doing well.
And he's doing well, right? And Nicholson and anybody else who's a Jets fan out there, I think those are the only 2 we know. But it's BS because he's going to get hurt. But you don't bench him if he's healthy. And what's his name comes back? I totally forgot his name now because he's not
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Yeah, there you go. Like, you don't bench Joe Flacco right now if he's continuing this streak, right? You got to roll with him.
Yeah. Faith.
It's BS, and you absolutely bench him when Zach Wilson comes back. There's no way Joe Flacco is going to continue on this kind of pace. Again, I haven't looked at the Jets schedule, but I imagine it can't be any easier than it has been.
They have one winnable game in their next 3, and that's the Steelers. They'll probably lose to the Bengals this weekend, and they'll probably lose to the Dolphins in 2 weeks. Right.
So you know what? Maybe you let Joe Flacco take those L's and then bring Zach Wilson back. Give him a couple extra weeks on the knee to heal.
And then he plays the Packers, the Broncos.
And then bring him back for what, week 6 or whatever that is?
Week 6. Yeah, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, week 6, they play the Packers in Lambeau.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Bring him back for something like that. The Packers are not, Packers are
way down on the Packers. I think it's too early.
Not the old team, not the old Packers that we all
You're undertaking Aaron Rodgers right now. You're literally throwing dirt on Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah,
and he's going to rise from the dead.
I mean, that second half was a whole different ballgame than the first half, wasn't it? I mean, the Packers have really played a quarter and a half of good football this year. I mean, it is 2 games, but it's not. It's a lot of bad quarters. and it's interesting. I don't know where I stand on the Packers, but I don't think Fee's completely off the grid talking to what he was talking about it.
No Joe Flacco.
Let me
No
ask
Joe
you
Flacco
this.
season. Sorry.
Let me ask you this. 2 points for everybody. Fee wins by a landslide because he's the official sponsor of the
Rushed it.
Flacco is a hot waiver wire pickup this week. He is playing the Bengals. Don't you think that could be a shootout game? Do you start him in fantasy this week?
If you need a quarterback, because there have been a few injuries, or maybe you're in a super flex league or something like that where you start 2 quarterbacks, then sure. But I don't know that he's a starter in a 12-team league.
Fair enough. Dutton, same.
I don't know. I got a question to answer your question. Joe Flacco or Tom Brady with maybe Cole Beasley as their wide receiver this weekend?
Yeah, no. I'd see, like, I would do Joe Flacco over that. Why
You
not?
would?
Well, the Bengals have been good against the pass, but I mean, they played Mitch Trubisky. I mean, that's going to help. That's going to help their
Right.
numbers a
You're
little
right.
bit.
So yeah,
right?
I don't know. Like, yeah. So I don't know if I start Joe.
Garrett Wilson looks like an NFL wide receiver, right?
Yeah, sure does.
Corey Davis, well, he had a good game.
He had a big catch though. He had one.
But that's the kind of receiver Flacco needs. Flacco needs a guy that could just run 2 big routes and catch his ball, because that's what he does. He just chucks it. I think he's worth starting this week if in a couple situations, if you have that situation, right?
Yeah.
We still haven't heard about Justin Herbert and that rib, right? If he's a surprise scratch, something like
Well,
that.
not to mention it's the same doctor that basically
Dr. Vinny Boombats that stamped Tyreek Hill, not Tyreek Hill,
Tyrod Taylor.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Messed up Tyrod. That's the whole reason Justin Herbert started.
Dr. Vinny Boom.
So anyway, let's move on to second down. And it's Calvin Ridley's locks of the week. We know that we won last week because we went with the Lions, and the Lions won last week. We were actually I won again. I'm 2-0 on the season, I believe, right? I'm looking at our spreadsheet. Yeah, I picked the Lions overall. So I'm 2-0 on the season. Fee picked another winner. He picked 49ers, but he did take the Rams in that the Ravens in that Miami game. And then Dutton took the Bears +10, and it still wasn't enough. But we did take our pick. We're now 2-0 on the season. We went the Lions twice. We'll let Dutton start things off with this week. Dutton, who are you taking?
I told you on Sunday who we were taking, and you both know the answer. I said until they lose, we have to take the Lions. They are +6 this week against the Vikings. They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose like 27-24, and we're gonna ride off with another Lions win.
Yeah. I mean, and reminder, just as our weekly reminder, this is Wednesday that we're recording. That line could change. Right now, the Lions are getting 6 against the Vikings, and I'm with Dutton on this one. Fee, what you like that?
Oh yeah, I absolutely like that. I'll take the Lions getting points any day of the week, and it's more than 3.5. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take the Lions +6 for sure.
Who are your picks this week?
I have Buffalo -5.5 against Miami. I think this line should be somewhere around 8 or so.
Wow.
But Miami, with what they did last week, is really pushing this line down.
Right.
And I really think that Buffalo's defense is going to give Tua all sorts of problems. And we all know what Buffalo's offense can do. So I'm taking Buffalo -5.5, and I also have Philly -6.5 against Washington. This one's tough for me. Well, I mean, I guess they're both tough. I usually don't like taking division games, but Philly's defense looked really, really good. And we all know what Carson Wentz kind of is. And this whole, revenge game thing, Carson Wentz going back playing against Philly again. I just think that their defense is going to give him all sorts of problems too. So I'd take Philly -6.5 in this one.
Okay. I too. I mean, but as you'll see in the schedule, it is a very heavy division game week. So it was very hard to pick. So I left mine blank because I wanted it to be a surprise, because FanDuel fee. I am going with your New York Football Giants giving 1.5 to the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Brian, this team is back. Okay, they're not a powerhouse team, but Brian Dable's going to win games. Look what he's doing. He is getting rid of the high profile players, and he's winning. He's saying he doesn't care who you are. He's winning with a guy I never heard of off the what was it, Crosby, Stills, and Nash or something like that, right?
Sills, yeah, Sills, David Sills,
and he's winning, and these guys are leaving the locker room. They're crying. It's great. I love it. He's putting these little guys in place, and I know
he rocks the gold chain.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny Dimes is a question mark. Barkley, he didn't have a great game on paper, but he did when it mattered, right? He looked tough when they needed him to be tough. And I just think they win this game. It's only 1.5. All they got to do really is win the game pretty much. And I think they do that on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Giants should win this game, especially. I mean, I don't believe in Cooper Rush being any kind of savior for Dallas, even after they won 2 games with him.
They've won 1 game. Oh yeah, the other game,
right? 1.5. So the Giants should win this game, and they are at home. But it's tough for me because as a Giants fan, I know what usually happens is they usually play down to their competition and they get screwed.
Right.
You could go 3-0.
It's hard. But I will say, I don't know that they're back necessarily. They probably should win this game. I probably would take the Giants minus the 1.5 for sure. But I don't know about them being back. I think let's
get out to a 3-0 start.
Not get too ahead of ourselves here.
You get out to a 3-0. I still think it's right now, looking at it, early season reaction, I think it's the Eagles' division to lose.
Oh yeah.
But you get out to a 3-0 start with a win over a division rival. You could be looking at a wild card, which would surprise a lot.
And you get guys buying into the culture of the team.
Absolutely, which they have to be doing already because they know who has their back, right? If you're playing right now after what we've seen the first 2 weeks and even the preseason, getting rid of Blake Martinez, if your coach has your back right now, then you're like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Right. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's working. Right.
So are we locking in the fantasy football breakdown? Lions +6?
Yeah. Until they ruin it for us. They've yet to let us down.
I'm not going to argue.
We're literally on like a 12-week streak with them going back to last season.
All right. Whoever types it in normally has to type it in, though. We can't stop that. All right. Moving on to third down. FanDuel Fee's stacks of the week. Fee, what do you got for us this week?
All right. I am going to start us off in the Minnesota-Detroit game. A lot of goodness in this game, but I really like Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson to have a really big bounce back week. Detroit's offense, really good. Their defense, not so good. They give up lots of points. Cousins is only at 7,600 this week. Justin Jefferson is at 9,500. He's the second highest wide receiver on the slate, but I think it's going to be worth it this week. Second game, that Eagles-Washington game, really like Jalen Hurts again. He's at 8,100. Believe it or not, I think it's like the 7th highest quarterback on the slate. I really like to pair him with either Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert. AJ Brown sure is a beast, but he's also priced up pretty high. And if you're going to pay 8,100 for Hurts, you're gonna have to sacrifice salary somewhere. Dallas Goedert's only 5,500. Devontae Smith, I believe, is only around 6,100. So you could really kind of get some unique stacks there. I also really like David Montgomery against Houston. He's down at 7,100 for a starting running back. And really you could stack him with Justin Fields too, who's also very cheap on the slate. Houston's been playing well, but their defense isn't great. And Chicago's not great either, but the salary savings really, taking Dave Montgomery and or Justin Fields could really give you another solid lineup with the rest of your salary. Really like Darrell Henderson this week, priced down all the way down at 6,300 against Arizona. He's obviously the starting running back for the Rams. I don't know that Cam Akers is going to cut into that at all. Maybe a couple of series here and there, but he's their starting guy. against Arizona at 6,300. And I got one sleeper for you. I really like Mac Hollins at 5,300 playing against Tennessee. He is their second wide receiver, and there's nobody else behind him to play.
Yeah.
So down at 5,300 going against Tennessee, really like Mac Hollins this week.
Yeah. A lot of injuries and stuff. Good picks. I like them. I think you could run back a Jared Goff, Amon St. Brown stack in that Vikings game. I think that would.
Why you gotta bring up that guy?
Well, Amon St. Brown, because he was part of the Jalen Waddle, Amon St. Brown, Cooper Kupp wide receiving trio that you guys let me draft. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I like those stacks. I think, and I think maybe even in it's so hard to trust Wentz. You're right, in the revenge game narrative, but the receipt. We talked before Sunday's game about Dotson, and the guy seems like he's a red zone target, right? He got a 2-point conversion and a touchdown a week after getting 2 touchdowns. Again, it's 2 weeks. The guy's a rookie. We don't know, but you stack a guy like Wentz and Dotson and Logan Thomas, who fantasy football breakdown favorite, Logan Thomas, who looked great last week. Mm-hmm. You probably got a cheap stack that you could just, pile up elsewhere. And I think that should be a back and forth game. I like those stacks, and I just wanted to throw ideas to bounce off them and run the other way. Let's move on to the red zone and do our starts of the sits and wrap things up for the week. Last week we were, Derek Carr was our start of the week. He was the 11th best quarterback fantasy point wise, and these are all PPR rankings. He was the 11th best quarterback in a PPR league. That means if you're in a 12-team league and you started, you did the right thing, right? So it's not a green woohoo, we won, but it's not a loss either. Kareem Hunt disappeared. It was Nick Chubb day, 3 touchdowns. So we didn't hit there. Mike Williams, the 8th best receiver in PPR fantasy football league. So yeah, we were right there. And TJ Hawkinson, but he got hurt. It's not fair. We don't like to downplay Hawkinson, but he did get hurt, and he wound up being the 24th best tight end, so he didn't hit. Aaron Rodgers, the 17th best quarterback and our sit of the week, so we were right there. James Conner, who I told Fee before the game, sucks, and he wound up getting hurt, but he's not good. And he finished 39th overall. CeeDee Lamb, 24th. I marked him. So we have 3 colors on our chart here, so you know what we're looking at. And it's green means we were right, red means we were wrong, and orange means eh. With Lamb being the 24th best receiver in a PPR, I could see that meaning he flexed somewhere and he did all right. But I still think that we win the day by saying to sit him when you're the 24th best wide receiver. And Everett, Gerald Everett wound up having a big day, finished the 8th best tight end, and we said to sit him, and we were wrong there. So let's move on to week 3 starts and sits. We'll let Fee get started with quarterback this week. Starts and sits week 3. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going with Kirk Cousins. Talked about him earlier in my FanDuel stacks. Really like him against Detroit, coming back after a tough week against Philly.
And Dutton?
I like Jalen Hurts, which is weird because I'm not a fan of his, but I like him against the Commanders this week. Fee talked about him earlier, and you're going to see a theme with a lot of my starts this week.
I was talking to a longtime listener. I'm not allowed to say his name on the show because he likes to remain in anonymity. But Hurts he looks much better. But he also, that one long touchdown pass was a duck, right?
And it was blown coverage.
Is that they're at the point where they have so many weapons that there's going to be blown coverage, and he could get away with those ducks. That it's like he's almost mistake proof now because his mistakes are going to capitalize on other teams' mistakes. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. Like that was a terribly thrown ball, but it was a wide open touchdown, and it looked perfectly executed.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be hard to sit him at all. I mean, going into the season, we talked about it. I thought he was one of the top targets to get. I'm going with Derek Carr, who kind of let us down last week. Tennessee has been, again, it's 2 weeks, but they've been 28th fantasy against they're 28th ranked against the quarterback They're letting up a lot of points to quarterbacks, and it doesn't help when you play Josh Allen in the first 2 weeks of the season. It's going to inflate your stats. But I think Derek Carr has a decent week. I never like to pick Derek Carr on the road, but haven't been all that impressed with Tennessee's defense. So who are we locking in as our fantasy football start of the week at quarterback?
I got to stick with Cousins.
What?
I got to stick with Cousins.
I like Cousins.
Cousins is fine. We can do it.
I think Hurts is a must start, so that's why I wouldn't say him.
That's fine. I can get down with that.
Okay, we're moving on to running backs. Week 3 starts and sits. Who did I just start with? Fee? So we'll start with you, Dutton.
Miles Sanders against the Commanders. It rhymed.
That's the reason. Fee.
I spoke about him in the FanDuel segment. Really like David Montgomery going against Houston.
FYI, I was going to pick him, but you already picked him. That's why I went with Miles Sanders.
Well, I was actually going to pick Miles Sanders. And then I had to go with someone else, and I was looking down the list, and the Bears have been what some would call piss poor against the run. So that's actually where they've been getting beat, really. So I'm going with Dameon Pierce. Lovey said, look, I'm going to run him next week more than I did in week 1. And he delivered, right? He was 4.8 yards a carry. He didn't get in the end zone, but the Texans didn't get in the end zone. So I think he's a good start this week. And what Lovey said this week was that he really likes how Pierce is pretty much the only guy finishing plays. So this is a guy that he trusts. He's going to continue to get more and more involved, and that touchdown is going to come. And I think it's this week against the Bears. Who do we like as our
Pierce it is. Put Pierce in.
Dameon Pierce.
All right. I like it.
I like him.
Going to receivers, I'm going to Hollywood Brown. I said the Cardinals aren't good, but they're competing a lot of passes, and the Rams are not stopping passes. Of course, they played Josh Allen, which we said hurts everybody's stats, but Drake London looked really good against the Rams, and he's a rookie, and Marcus Mariota is throwing the ball. So I really am questioning that Rams secondary right now, and I think that game's going to be a shootout. Fee.
I'm going with Amon-Ra St. Brown going against the Vikings. You mentioned the comeback earlier in the stacks, and I'm 100% in agreement with the comebacks on the stacks. And this could be an absolute comeback if you go with the J. Cousins stack. Definitely bring back Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a beast.
Yeah. Dutton.
Brandon Cooks against the Bears, because I think the Texans have to throw the ball at some point in that game, so it'll be to him. So yeah.
What do we think?
I think Amron is starting.
Yeah,
I think he is now like everyone's flex or wide receiver 2, depending how deep your league is. Might be wide receiver 1 in like a 12-team league, but yeah, I think he's starting. So yeah, the Rams, other than Jalen Ramsey, they throw to the other side of the field the whole time. So yeah, I'll go with Hollywood.
All right. We can't go Cooks because we can't have 2 Texans as starts of the week.
Right. It's just a bad sign.
Tight end, Fee tight end.
I'm starting Zach Ertz.
I want to know why, because I have Ertz and I was considering sitting him. So tell me.
So Zach Ertz was getting solid looks from Kyler Murray all week last week. And with all the injuries that they have at wide receiver, he's getting a lot of looks. He's getting a lot of volume. He's on the field a ton. And, they're going to have to throw the ball, I think, against the Rams. And Ertz could be that kind of, if they get pressure, he could be that short pass type of guy that catches, gets a lot of catches, gets a lot of looks from Kyler.
Okay. Dutton.
Darren Waller, you said his name earlier, against the Titans. If I guess it's his week this week. I don't know. That's the thing. But he seemed to be a target, definitely in the red zone. He was definitely being targeted. Of course, Derek Carr overthrew him twice in the end zone, because that's what Derek Carr does. But going Darren Waller against the Titans, you said it. They're not very good against the pass right now.
Yeah. I'm going with Tyler Higbee against the Cardinals. The Cardinals against the tight end this year have allowed 19 of 24 targets to land in the tight end's hand. 3 touchdowns, which is the most of any team have gone to tight ends against the Cardinals. So the Cardinals defense against the tight end is abysmal. So I went with Tyler Higbee here. And I think he's kind of a guy that most people are like, do I start him this week? Do I not start him this week? So I think this is a week you start him.
By the way, Ertz's numbers last week: 11 targets, 8 catches, 75 yards.
Yeah, I thought he had a couple of drops when you said his name, but that's, but he's getting the targets and the volume. So yeah, and he's not going to drop everything.
And that game should be a shootout. So who are we taking?
Well, since they're both in the same game, let's go with Zach Ertz. No, wait, we already have a Cardinal. Let's go with Tyler Higbee.
I mean, it seems like the next tight end that the Cardinals stop will be the first. So I don't think that's happening.
Let's go with Higbee.
Tight end is like the worst position in football.
Terrible right now.
Are you going to play Higbee in DFS, Wayne?
I probably will.
Yeah.
I like that matchup. So let's review. Fantasy football breakdown starts of the week. Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Running back is Dameon Pierce, Hollywood Brown at wide receiver, and Tyler Higbee at tight end. So that leaves sits. We're going to quarterback, and we will start with Dutton quarterback.
Yeah, we're sitting Aaron Rodgers against the Bucks. I mean, I'm not down on him. I'm not throwing dirt on him, but he's also going against, if it's not the top ranked defense, it's the top 3 ranked defense in the league right now. And that secondary is lethal. And those wide receivers are young. I was
looking at it that way. That's what I was looking at. I'm like, got it. I want to sit Aaron Rodgers because the Bucks defense has been good. But who have they played? They played.
And I was getting there. And that's the thing. I was getting there, right? Like, they played the Cowboys. Dak Prescott looked awful. Then they played the Saints. And that was a freaking fight. Like, literally a fight broke out. Mike Evans is suspended. And but that defense, they're giving me 2002 vibes. They are they're just.
It looks good. Yeah, I'm not denying that.
Yeah, they're just ball hawks. They're everywhere on the field. They're fast. And like I said, if this game is played 6 weeks from now, Aaron Rodgers is not on my list to sit. But I still think those receivers are too young, and that secondary is too good. So sit Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. To you, Fee.
Yeah. To steal. From another podcast, Chad Millman and Simon Hunter, they have a betting podcast, and they have the Big Balls Bet of the Week. I'm going to steal that from them. I'm going to say my Big Balls Sit of the Week is Tua Tagovailoa against Buffalo. I talked about it earlier. I think Buffalo's defense is solid. I think Tua is not as good as he looked last week. And I think if this turns into a shootout, Tua is going to be exposed. And so he's my sit of the week.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sitting Justin Fields, and Fee, you said it. The defenses look good for the Texans, and their pass defense, fantasy point wise, is 10th best. And they played Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan. I mean, we saw what Matt Ryan did last week again, so they played 2 good quarterbacks. They're in the top 10. I don't think Justin Fields is a very good quarterback. He made some very questionable plays against the Packers, who are a very good pass defense under normal circumstances. So I picked Justin Fields to sit. I do think David Montgomery runs a little bit of muck on them, but I do think Justin Fields is a sit. So who do we think overall?
Well, I mean, it's his Big Balls Sit of the Week. We had to go with it, right?
I don't know if I agree with it at all.
I think there's a garbage touchdown or 3 that happened in that game.
I think he has close to 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He probably has 3 interceptions as well, but I still think he gets those numbers.
I'm good with sitting A-Rod.
Okay, let's do A-Rod.
All right, sit A-Rod.
I can't sit Tua right now. Going to running back. Fee.
I am sitting Alvin Kamara. Carolina Panthers run defense, I think, is top 3 in the league. They're obviously very good against the run. He may get points through the air, but he's also banged up. And I don't, he didn't play last week, I don't think, or maybe he did. I don't know.
You're right.
but Carolina's rush defense scares me. And if he is still banged up, they could go with Mark Ingram a whole lot too. So I'm gonna sit Alvin Kamara.
Whoa, Fee, just so you know, the Panthers have allowed 20.5 points to running backs per game so far, but they did look good against Saquon. Who did they play in week 1? I can't even remember that far back.
The Browns.
Oh yeah, so Chubb and Hunt went nuts in that game. But they have only allowed 1 touchdown on the ground. So yeah, if they let up a whole bunch of yards, that's not really Kamara's, wheelhouse. He's not a 150-yard rush guy. So yeah, I like that pick. Dutton.
He promised his fantasy owner more touchdowns, and then he got hurt. And so now Leonard Fournette is questionable, and he's going against a tough Packers defense. I mean, that defense is going to stop the run. They're good up front. And the questionable, I think the whole Bucks team is questionable at this point, because every day I look at a new injury report and it's like, oh, this guy. Oh, this guy's suspended. Oh, this guy's out. So sit Leonard Fournette. I want him to score more touchdowns. I have him on my team, but I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think Jeff Wilson was the big pickup last week. And now I think a lot of people, he had a good week. He went 84 yards and 19 receiving yards on 2 catches. And now the rookie got hurt. I think it sounds like they're going to promote Marlon Mack from the practice squad. And so Jeff Wilson looks like a juicy start. But Denver has played Rashad Penny and Damian Pearson and pretty much kept them in check. And they look good against the run. I don't think this is the week that Jeff Wilson gets it done. I think it's going to be a lot of Debo out of the backfield, a lot of dink and doinks to Brandon Ayuk. I think that's how Jimmy G wins this game this week. What do we think overall?
By the way, the Carolina Panthers defense has given up the 9th least yards total over the first 2 games of the season.
That's good.
Total yards. That's not rushing yards, just total yards.
Right. Gotcha.
Sit. Well, now let's test them. Let's sit Alvin Kamara.
Okay, yeah, let's test the Panthers. Let's put the Panthers to the test. Alvin Kamara, you are on the bench. We'll go to wide receivers. I'm sitting Lazard against the Bucks. It seems like there's a trend here. That Bucks and Packs game is pretty much don't start anyone, I guess. Lazard, he's dinged up already. The Bucks, as we said, they have a good defense against the pass so far. Again, it's who they've played. But, even before Dak got hurt, Dak looked bad. Lazard played last week and he looked bad. So I think he keeps sitting with him. Dutton, we'll go to you because you're smoking crack cocaine with this pick.
I'm not, because I think Tyreek Hill goes off in a loss, but I don't think Jalen Waddle gets the yards you're expecting him to get.
Crack cocaine, people. Don't smoke crack.
Well, we'll talk next week and I'll eat crow if I need to, but I'm sitting Jalen Waddle. That Bills defense is something to be reckoned with.
It is. I think it's one of those defenses you put on a pedestal. I do agree, but I just don't think Jalen Waddle could be. He's still going to get peppered with targets. He's that guy. So, Fee.
I am sitting Rashad Bateman against the New England Patriots. The Patriots defense is still a very good defense, even if their offense is not good. But Bateman is not going to do what he did last week with 79-yard touchdowns from Lamar Jackson against the Patriots. He may still get a whole bunch of catches, but I just don't think he's going to get a whole lot of yards. And I think the touchdowns are going to come on the ground for the Ravens, if anything, in this game. So I'm going to sit Rashad Bateman this week.
I'm good with sitting him. I agree with that. Your entire assessment.
I like it.
And that leaves us to tight end. I'll close this category, as you can see what I wrote on the chart.
Can I just agree with you and move on?
Dutton, you're sitting. Go ahead.
I'm sitting touchdown TJ Hawkinson because he's got a hip injury and that worries me. And yeah, I'm sitting him. But I agree with everything you're saying.
I'm sitting Mike Gesicki. The guy does nothing but block.
He had a good week last week, but it was a shootout. So he does do a lot more blocking than he is going out on targets. I think it's a stupid category for sitting tight end because right now there's about 6 startable tight ends. And then you look at it, right? And you're like, okay, let me make a bold prediction, right? And say, I would never do this, but we say sick Travis Kelce. Who's the person that drafted Travis Kelce have on their bench, right? They
Right.
probably have the sorry, no offense, Don. I know you have the Okanawa
Right.
Akawaki guy on the right. Nobody's starting that guy, right? If you have Travis Kelce, if you have Darren Waller, if you have Freiermuth, if you have any of the guys that are performing, they could be playing the 1985 Chicago Bears, and you're still not sitting them because the guy behind them on your bench ain't getting you any points.
Exactly.
The tight ends are atrocious right now.
They're terrible right now.
Outside of the big seven. You got lucky last week with Everett. Keenan Allen did a walk through the day. They're kind of hinting that he's going to be back. If Keenan Allen's back, you got Keenan Allen, Joshua Palmer, and Mike Williams, and Gerald Everett goes back to being,
Gerald Everett,
the fourth option. Fifth option, because Austin Eckler is still a more reliable receiving option.
And Dawson Knox is banged up. So yeah, you're right.
It's just, if you have one of the top 6 tight ends, you're not sitting him in it. And it's funny, Fee, like I agree with you that you sit Gesicki against the Bills, but think about the teams that drafted Gesicki. Who the heck do they have behind him? Right? Like they probably have Brevin Jordan on the Texans. So you're like forced to start Mike Gesicki because your option's even worse.
Awful.
But I would say only because I never like to say the word sit TJ Hawkinson. I'll say let's sit Gesicki.
Okay.
Putting this out there, this puts a lot of pressure on Fee because the last 3 are his sits. Are you okay with that, Fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Well, he had the big balls prediction, so we're just giving him this as a compromise.
I was just gonna say that's the one we didn't do.
Right, exactly.
No, I'm okay with the rest.
Okay, so just quick recap: sits of the week, fantasy football breakdown. Sits of the week: quarterback A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers; running back Alvin Kamara; wide receiver Rashad Bateman; and tight end Mike Gesicki. But if you don't have any of the big 5, sit them all. And remember, again, this is Wednesday. Check those injury reports. This may all change. I mean, TJ Hawkinson may be ruled out by the time that the game day rolls around, for all we know. But yeah, anything else to add before we wrap up another successful show?
No.
They don't call you the best color man in fantasy football for nothing, gents. Thanks for the commentary. And on that note, we'll see you next week on the Fantasy Football Breakdown.